Okay, well, as some people know, I'm a pastor, do a lot of studies in different ancient religions and so on and so forth. Uh, the biggest thing that I've run across that I believe to be the great deception that'll pull away many God's people is this ancient aliens thing. Now, years ago, it almost crushed my faith completely. I read a book called The 12th Planet by Zachariah Sitchin. And as I was reading it, I knew that the things in the Sumerian cylinder scrolls were accurate. I didn't think they were just stories they were making up. I thought that was accurate historical records, which is what most of the ancient world kept. They didn't keep a whole lot of fiction. There was some, but it wasn't the big thing. But anyway, I ran across a video I'm going to play here in a little bit, but I don't see any contradiction or conflict with the Hebrew biblical scriptures. I think that they describe the same thing. Ancient aliens, they got some stuff wrong. Don't get me wrong, but for the majority, they got it right. But they've got some words in the wrong place. The Anunnaki, quite simply, were the fallen angels. I mean, they said that from the very beginning, that they came down from heaven. Well, they did. You know, they were cast down from heaven by the Father at the fall. But if you would just open your mind, look at the biblical scriptures and what the Sumerians were saying, I mean, they coincide. It's the same thing. All of those Anunnaki gods that were ruling the antediluvian world were absolutely Nephilim. Well, not Nephilim, but actually fallen angels. And their offsprings became Nephilim after that. I mean, the Bible clearly says in Genesis 6 about the flood and, wiping out of these Nephilim, fallen ones. I believe, these are just my opinions, obviously. But through my study of scriptures and just, everything in the Bible is true. But everything that's true is not in the Bible. That's just a known fact. Okay? There are a lot of other historical and extra canonical texts that not necessarily held as canonical law, but have to be at least taken into consideration. It's the viewpoints and the perspectives of the people at that time, at least. We have to at least look at it. Okay? I think everything in this video is absolutely accurate, other than, like I said, they need to change it over and realize they're fallen angels and their children that were ruling that. I mean, we look at the pyramids and some of the megalithic structures throughout the ancient world. They can't be explained today. I mean, there's a few hypotheses out there of how they built them, but there's not a lot, and nobody knows for sure. But that's the point. Nobody knows. Don't know how they were built. Again, this is just my opinion. But I believe that at the time of what some people call the Luciferian rebellion, although Lucifer, think about that, that's a Latin word, and Latin wasn't back when, at the fall time. So his name could not have been Lucifer. That is absolutely no way. It was Shining Star. But that was just, it happened during translation into Latin, which was the educated language at the time. So that was the most logical first translation anyway. Of course, got a lot of translations since then, and most of them are absolutely heretical. Um, just check it. Use the interlinear. It's crazy. I'm not going to get into all that. The flood, I believe, wiped out. It says all flesh, but somehow, some way, the Nephilim did come back after the flood. It's unclear how this exactly happened, but I mean, it definitely happened. I've talked to so many people, including pastors, that would say, "Well, that was then, and they were all dead." And I said, "You know, Nephilim were giants." You remember Goliath? Well, yeah. You know the whole story about David and Goliath? Yeah. Well, Goliath was a Nephilim. He was a giant. And so were all of his brothers, who, incidentally, David picked up 4 smooth stones from the river. That was because he was going to wipe out Goliath and all his brothers too, which is another little tidbit. But I believe that at the time of Satan's fall, Lucifer's fall, you had the fallen angels who were cast out of heaven. And I believe, just opinion, but I believe that they were cast into where we are now, the earth. And I believe also that their habitation amongst the stones of fire that they were basically cast out of, I believe that was Mars. Mars, if you look at it, has a lot of pockmarks where asteroids and meteorites and so on and so forth have hit. What a lot of people don't realize is that 90% of those craters are on one hemisphere of Mars. It's the Cydonia region. And if you look on Google Mars or whatever, however you want to look it up, there's 1,000 different things out there on it, but there are actually pyramids and structures on the same latitude and longitude, basically, of Earth. And if you take a transparency and you can actually superimpose those pyramid structures on Mars over to the ones at Giza, it's definitely not a coincidence. But I believe that the fallen angels, originally, when they were aligned with the Father, actually lived on Mars. And then at the time of the rebellion, all those pockmarks, I mean, who can move meteors and asteroids and meteorites? God, right? So he kind of blasted where they were and kicked them off down to the earth, where I believe that he's quarantined those with the Van Allen radiation belt. I mean, somehow, some way, we were supposed to have gotten through it and went to the moon, and then we forgot that technology, which I'll never believe. There's no way. If we had it, we still got it. If we didn't, we never did, which is another thing to get into. But I believe they lived there. They were cast down here, quarantined with that Van Allen radiation belt. And this earth, and this is my interpretation and opinion on the meaning of life. I believe that the meaning of life, the Bible speaks of the elect. You got to wonder, well, how could, and God knew you before you was in your womb, and so on and so forth. Well, how could God choose, kind of, somebody to be an elect when they hadn't even done anything? They weren't even born yet. Well, it's because all spirits, all the entities in the universe were created all at once. The Lord created everybody, everything, ever was, that will ever be, all at once. He knew you before you was in your womb, simply because your spirit, when it was created in the beginning, was there with God. Uh, Whoever the elect are, I believe them to have, at the time of the Satan's rebellion or Luciferian rebellion, whatever you want to call it, I believe that they aligned themselves with the Father, and they stayed true and loyal to the Father throughout that initial battle. Of course, there was 1/3 that fell, so I look at them as the ones, these are spirits, our spirits that are put into our bodies on earth. So the ones that went with Satan, those are pretty much, there could be exception, but those are pretty much the ones that just aren't going to make it, unfortunately, because they've already made their choice. And I believe that there were some spirits that are put in us now. I believe that those undecided people are spirits. Those undecided spirits are the meaning of life, literally. We have so many of these souls that didn't know which way to go. They were so confused and manipulated and everything that they were stuck in the middle. So now I believe that the meaning of life, the world, is basically these three groups, per se, are put down here on earth to the elect, obviously, to sway the undecided towards the Father. And the other ones that are lost are, well, I guess they're kind of starved. Not really starved, because there's a heck of a lot of them, but they just want to take everybody with them, because they can't come back. In the book of Enoch, it talks about the fallen angels talked to Enoch, and they wanted Enoch to go to the Father and advocate for them. And Enoch was basically like, hey, I'll do that. Can't guarantee nothing. So Enoch does. He goes to the Father, and he says, the fallen angels, they told me that they're sorry. They really screwed up. And the Father says, nope, ain't gonna happen. Now, at first, that might kind of sound like it's like hardcore. But see, here's the thing. I've always thought of this as the example. If someone down the street was to betray you in some way, maybe, I don't know, stole your TV, okay, just something stupid. If he stole your TV, and then later on you found out about it, you didn't even know the person, so does it suck that your TV got stolen? Yeah, it does, but it ain't gonna hurt you. You just get another TV, right? Well, now just imagine that it was your best friend. Somebody that was there with you every day, sharing life with you, being around your family, and you love this person, and they are the ones who stole your TV. Again, the TV, the material part, is not really even a matter. So what? It's a TV. But when it comes right down to your friend betraying you, family member betraying you, that is when it hurts. It's no longer just a material thing. No matter on the material, but the emotional impact of your friend, your trusted friend, betraying you. That's why I believe God said, no, it's not happening. You made your bed, lay in it. So throughout that whole ancient time and these Nephilim coming back, however that catalyst was, there's several different theories on it. But in any case, I mean, they came back because, like I said, Goliath is after the flood, commonly known, but sometimes people don't put two and two together. All of the Rephaim, Zamzumim, Emims, all of the Nephilim tribes of the Old Testament, well, the majority, all of them, are post-flood. So these things can't be discounted. They weren't the Sethite theory. That's just insane. I don't know how anybody can even think that that would be correct. But in any case, everybody is up in arms. They don't know what to do about religion and putting religion and the Anunnaki Sumerian cylinder scroll text. They can't put them together. I don't see where there's a problem. Not at all. It's the same story. So, for all the Christians out there that are losing their faith, don't. Just look at it, read it along with your biblical text, because it's the same story. Just replace the word Anunnaki with fallen angel. And all their kids after that. You got all the, in the ancient world, they always said that they were the son of this god or son of that god. Well, don't discount that. That would be crazy. The fallen angels are portraying themselves as gods, and they did have children. Genesis 6:4, Nephilim. So they were the descendants of gods. Even Jesus said, are you not minor gods? I believe that's Isaiah, I can't remember the chapter. But in any case, amongst the council of gods, that's some stuff. But anyway, that's what I'm thinking on the whole thing. I believe it is the great deception of the end times. They're gonna draw us away somehow, and if it were possible, even the elect would be deceived. Well, that's got to be some strong delusion, if it were possible. So those elect won't be deceived. Thank God for that. It's the only thing we got trying to reap in some souls on the right side, right? So it's all a perplexing thing. I just wish that people would open their spiritual eyes and not discount extra canonical or pseudepigraphal text. At least look at them for what they are, an opinion, okay? Just check into it, and let me know what you guys think about this video that I'm going to play. It's pretty good. Like I said, I think everything in it is actually accurate. Just change the words. Anyway, that's my opinion for today. This is Storm Shadow 1211, out.
The list of Sumerian kings describes how a group of enlightened beings descended from heaven to rule the earth. The total time of his domination, 242,000 years ago. How is that possible? The list of Sumerian kings is an archaic stone tablet written in the Sumerian language. It gives us the names and periods of reign of the kings of Sumer, a region that encompassed the space now occupied by southern Iraq. Compiled from several different clay tablets, the final part of the list of kings contains the names of rulers and cities historically attested. To the community of Forbidden History, the first kings not tested on the list present greater interest. Who were the true gods of Eden? Also known as antediluvian rulers, the first 8 kings on the list totaled a reign of 242,000 years, in a mythical period before the Great Flood swept the area. Scholars of the mainstream discard the existence of these lords and their impossibly long kingdoms, citing the fact that no archaeological discovery supports the unusual claims made by the stone tablets. However, the cuneiform words are there. After royalty came down from heaven, royalty was in Eridug. In Eridug, Alulim became king, ruled for 28,800 years. After the mandate of the first celestial king ended, the scepter fell into the hands of Alilingar, who ruled for 36,000 years. After him, it was Enmenluana's turn to sit on the throne for 43,000 years. The next 5 kings occupied the position for long periods of time, the shortest of which lasted only 18,600 years. The coming of the Great Flood, considered by some as a world catastrophe, put an end to the reign of the mythical kings. After the flood had ravaged and royalty had descended from heaven, Kish became the seat of royalty. Kish was an ancient city in Sumer, home to the first historically documented Sumerian dynasty. The kings of this dynasty had shorter realms than the previous ones, but they still extended far beyond the life expectancy of a human being in those days. The shortest reign belonged to Zamig, the son of Barcelona, who remained in power for 140 years. For a long time, historians agreed that these impossible deadlines were the result of fiction. Their reigns and facts were hyperbolized to increase the meaning of the ancient Sumerians in the eyes of neighboring peoples. By documenting their extremely ancient history, they could place a legitimate claim to govern the lands. But most historians reject the existence of the Anunnaki, the sons of Anu. They also came down from heaven to fulfill their own agenda on Earth. These beings had mastered space travel, and although it is said that they came here from the 12th planet, Nibiru, their place of origin could have been in another part of the galaxy. We do not know with certainty how man came to this planet. Perhaps it is the product of evolution and natural selection. But if human beings were created by someone, there is room for the Anunnaki Genesis theory, which states that man took his first breath in the laboratories of the Anunnaki Enki and Ninmah geneticists. If these beings were able to manipulate and transform Homo erectus into rational and intelligent humans, it is evident that they were able to prolong their own lives. This could mean that the longevity of the reigns in the Sumerian kings list could be interpreted as a reality rather than a metaphor. As far as we know, these celestial beings could have been immortal or at least impervious to factors such as aging and disease. If they handled enough power to be considered gods, it is logical that they were immune to the problems that end with our short lives. There is always the possibility that we look for answers in the wrong places, and the list of Sumerian kings is half fable, half done. But in the middle of this controversial topic, one thing is certain: the history of our planet is strange.